Hi everybody, it's Chef Melissa Parks again, and we're at the best part of what I think is the best part of any meal is dessert. Now, for the holidays, dessert carries with it sort of this connotation that it has to be one thing or the other thing. And some of those one things or the other things are quite laborious. There's a lot of effort, there's a lot of time, and maybe for some people, a bit of a scare factor because they don't bake regularly. So they're going to go and buy something store-bought and store-made. And, this is an option for those that don't want to make something from scratch, but don't want to buy from the store. And for me, I am now incorporating CBD into a part of this dessert. So it's kind of a, kill two birds with one stone. Let's get her done. Now this is where we start on the easy part. Again, store-bought pie dough. In a pinch, it works. Bring that to room temperature. And this is where we're gonna get started on something I like to call my pie dippers, because they're little pie sticks that you get to dip into two different types of sauces. It's really fun, it's interactive, it keeps your guests happy, and it's a way to incorporate CBD safely into the food, as well as introducing it to your guests. So here we go. I have this dough that I just took out of the package and put down on a floured surface. And I'd like to get this, I'm gonna move this so you can see what I'm doing. I like to get this thinner than the package so it comes pretty thick. So I like to get this sort of in a long rectangle of sorts and a bit thinner than the actual packaged dough. And there you go. Stuff happens. Believe me, happens to me. So there we go. We're just gonna roll that over. Make sure to get all the edges. And excuse the noise of my rolling pin. This is one I inherited and I'm never giving it up. Okay, so here we go. This is our pie, the bottom of it. But today, just for you guys, what I'm actually going to do is cut this dough in half. But this, in any type of package that has, or the pie dough comes packaged, it has two, the top and the bottom of the pie dough. Typically speaking, I would roll out both doughs so I can make more at one time. But just for right now, we're gonna cut this dough in half. Actually, I'm gonna use this. And that way I can show you how to do the filling of our pie dippers. So it's kind of a reference to pumpkin pie, but really fun in a very different setting. And it's just different. I mean, I like pumpkin pie, but I mean, truth be told, I don't like a lot of it. And so this is a way that I get to have those flavors that I love, but I'm not inundated with a giant piece of pie. Okay, so I took just pumpkin pie from the can, and we want a pumpkin puree so I can actually sort of tailor the flavors of this pumpkin pie filling to my tastes. So I took the pureed pumpkin. You do not have to make a pumpkin from scratch in the oven using that flesh. Buy it canned. So far we have purchased pie dough and purchased filling. Now this is pretty dark. The actual filling starts out bright orange, but because I'm adding so little of this to the pie dough itself, you want it to be extra flavored. So what I actually did is I didn't quite double, but I added about half of the amount. So I did 1.5 times how much pie spice filling I would add normally into this filling, because I want that strong flavor of the cinnamon and the allspice and those types of things. I want them really coming through. And oh God, the ginger is so aromatic when this bakes. Okay, I love desserts. Okay, anyway, so my favorite tool of choice when I'm doing any spreading on any dough of this kind is my offset spatula. You can get it at your grocery store. I think I got this for like $3, $4 with tax. So I'm gonna take just a little bit of this filling to start, right in the center. And when I spread this out, I am wanting to leave a 1-inch border around each side. So that way we can seal the dough. I'll show you. So you want to take this filling, and the best part about this offset spatula is if I have too much, I can just go across the top and take that off, start over. So you want to try to get not a thick layer, because if you have too thick of a layer of this pumpkin puree, which is now this glorious pie filling, it actually bubbles out and makes the dough soggy. And that is not the way to my dessert heart. All right, so that's looking good. Just get it as even as you can, kind of spreading back and forth. And I'm now going to take this and move along to create that 1-inch border with a thin layer of my pumpkin pie spice filling. All right. You want to get this just as even as you can, but it's dessert. Nothing has to be perfect in this realm. Great. Now, typically speaking, you're going to be having the top dough and the bottom dough. But again, I'm showing you this half dough just for these purposes. So what I like to do is this dough, to get it started, it may stick to the surface, but that's why I floured it to begin with, is, here we go. I want to be delicate at this part. Because if you're manhandling this and just trying to rip it apart, you are doing yourself a great injustice. I just realized I'm going to flip it this way, so that way it's easier for me. All right. Now, I'm going to line up this edge to edge. And now, the reason I folded this over is because I wanted it to be able to glide with my hands and easily do this. So again, you would take that second pie crust and you want to fit it as best you can on there. And again, this is why you don't want to do kind of that half version, is I underestimated, but you want to know the way we fix that? So what I did is I took out these little air bubbles just by tamping it like this. I want to go down. You're not sitting here beating this. This is just a light tap, a love tap to your dough, just to tap out those bubbles as best you can. Not all of them are going to be coming out, but do the best you can. This recipe I made so that way you can make a mistake and it still won't be a mistake. So I like this little, it's actually a cookie scooper, if you want, it's a technical term. But at the edge of it, it has a sharp blade. Not sharp like a knife, but sharp enough to cut dough. So I'm going to cut myself this border. So that way I have even when I go into the oven for baking. Now, this is not waste. This is what we do when we have leftover dough for the chef. Take this, twist it, sprinkle it with powdered or cinnamon sugar. I have to find my words. Cinnamon sugar, and bake it. It's delicious. We're just going to set that aside. And I'm going to twist these later. Okay, now what we want to do is create the shape of our pie dippers. So let me do this last one. I'm getting excited over my twists and forgetting to finish my project at hand. Okay, great. There. Now, typically speaking, this would be double this size, if not a little bigger. So I'm going to go through, and pie dippers, I like to think of them as pie sticks. So dipper sticks, tomato, tomato. I am going to cut roughly probably say that's like a good inch down. And actually going to switch to a knife for this so I don't have any little markings from it. Oh wait. Sometimes I'd forget my head if it weren't attached. Okay, so here we go. I am not chopping this dough. I'm simply separating it and moving it aside. Now you want to do that all the way down your dough to make these sticks. You can make them thinner. I don't recommend any thicker. Then when you're ready and you have all of your dough cut, you want to take that and cut right down there. And make sure that you have a good cut through. I mean, don't damage a table, but you want to make sure the dough is separated enough that you can actually see a tiny little bit of separation. But at the end of baking, if they're still slightly touching or stuck together, don't panic. Once this is not quite cool, but cooled enough to handle, you can transfer it, because I'm going to transfer this to a parchment lined baking sheet. But once you're done, you can take that whole baking sheet, put it on a cutting board, and use a knife to separate the pie sticks. Now, I went through and did this process all for you yesterday, and I may or may not have been indulging already in my stash that I have. And again, this is why mise en place, put in place, is so important. Should be parchment lined. So because I just simply forgot that part, I'm just gonna put this over top and set this aside for a second. All right, I can't tell you how much I love these things. They're so quick and so easy. And really, you can make the filling with anything you want. I have taken apple pie filling. I actually make fresh, but you can take it from the can. And you want to make sure that you're not using any of the liquid, but you take the apples from the pie filling and you grind them up in the food processor, and you can spread it between the layers, just a thin layer. And then you have apple pie dippers. I mean, you can do this with pumpkin, you can do this with squash, you can do it with Nutella. I've tried it all. All right, last little bit. And you can see how easily I'm just peeling those away so they can bake. All right, now, by the magic of television, we have the finished ones. These ones, I'm obsessed with. So let's just say, let's move over here. Let's just say that now you're planning to set this out for a party. Awesome. But the pie dippers alone are great. But to me, I'm a sauce girl. I like a little sauce on the side. It's just who I am. So I'm going to use these for presentation and set aside my shenanigans. Now, put this here. And you can see they're nice and firm. They're not too crisp, but they're glorious pie dough. I mean, how can you? I can't. More delicious. Okay. I'm going to take this here for my snack, but I'm going to fill these up. Pie dippers. I think it's also really fun. Okay, now that I can talk without my mouth being full, is that you can have different fillers and the same dippers. But if you want to make your life easier, just do what I did, make one kind. Okay. So we can fill up the other cup later. Now, sauces. I think people get intimidated when it comes to dessert sauces. Don't. I'm going to show you a trick that I actually learned from a chef that I highly regard. And her word was gold to me as I was coming up in the kitchen. Creme anglaise. Creme anglaise is a beautiful, thick, custard-like sauce that has vanilla beans and it's warm and it's actually the base to vanilla ice cream. So you can call this creme anglaise and not make it. Take all of the work of having to temper eggs and get the ingredients. Buy vanilla bean ice cream. Buy vanilla ice cream. And I always have vanilla bean paste in my house. This is just a brand that I like. You can find it on Amazon. So I added some extra vanilla bean in here, and I let vanilla ice cream melt in my refrigerator overnight. Your guests will not be the wiser, I promise you. And this is the portion that now I'm going to medicate with CBD oil. I love olive oil and ice cream. The combination sounds weird. It's delicious. Everybody looks at Elvis's sandwich, peanut butter, banana, honey, bacon, you name it, and they think it's glorious. To me, this is just the bee's knees. So when we're going with this, what we're actually going to do is, and this is the best way to infuse in my opinion, because heat, if you put any heat toward a CBD oil, you run the risk of burning off what you just added in. This is a cold sauce getting an oil added to it. So it will be at the prime temperature and it will be at the exact dosage we're looking for. Not saying that cooking with it is bad. It's just that you want to make sure you're not overcooking. Like, you don't want to saute or broil or fry using CBD oil. You would use it as a finishing oil. Okay, now that we're done talking logistics, let's get to this. So we have our pie dippers that we made along with something we did not make. Holiday season, make one thing, buy two others. All right, so when it comes to dosing, I figured out exactly how many tablespoons were in this container. Then I factored in that I want 2 tablespoons per guest. So that means I have to medicate this portion for each guest, or you can do this. Get your guests involved. I love this. Getting anybody interactive in the cooking process, or who doesn't love eating with your hands? A taco bar, or it's just a way to get your guest involved and staying excited throughout so you're not just falling asleep after eating turkey. Okay, I am notorious for doing that, so that's perhaps why I mentioned it. All right, these are serving dishes I have. I don't even know where I got these. I think I ordered them online. Use any small dish that you have. But for me, I like, again, on a scale that I have, I like this size for the dipping portion. So I'm gonna zero that out and add in exactly what I know one portion of this sauce is. This sauce currently is not medicated because I wanted to show you this part. Now, again, our creme anglaise is gonna go right into here, into our measuring. I mean, look how glorious. This sauce is just so velvety, and it's melted vanilla ice cream. I will always have to thank that chef. Okay, there's that. Now, I know this is gilding the lily, but I bought some, well, this is actually leftover of my homemade, but I bought some caramel sauce so that when So that way, when I actually do have my guests over, I don't have to make this. It's just going to be done for me. Where's my little spoon? Okay, I'll use my knife. I like a little caramel in the center of my creme anglaise. Again, store-bought. You don't have to do it. You can also medicate your caramel once it's done being made, but you don't have to. That's for another time. Okay, so here we go. Now that we have our components measured, now comes the medicating part. Now, for this recipe, I actually like to add a little orange. And this is the Bloom hemp oil that actually is infused with a citrus flavor. So to me, it kind of tastes like a combination between blood orange, the cara cara, really sweet orange, and just a hint of lemon. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. So in here we have vanilla bean and caramel, and pumpkin. I love citrus, especially when you think of the holidays. Orange and cranberry are two things that are synonymous in my brain. Those are just two of my go-tos. So I know for my dose, again, with the easy to dose, you can see the little vial right there. This dropper has it marked for me. Always look for an explanation on the back of your product for your milligram dose. If this is not available for your product, do not buy it. You're not going to want to guess how much you're putting in your body. You can't die from this. You're not doing this. You're not going to overdose. But what you can do is, if you're not used to taking something, this will affect you in some way, shape, or form. And you want to take it slow. You want to have fun. You don't want to have anxiety, or you really just want to take away any stress. The way to do that, and to also make sure that this company is saying what's on their bottle, to get these results, they have to go through lab testing. This to me means purity. It means less stress for me. It means the guesswork is done. I don't have to worry about that. It's just easy. That's why I love these brands. They make them easy for you. Believe me, back in the day when this was, God, that just made me sound old. Back when this started, some of these things were not available. So nowadays, take advantage of what's available on the market. And again, at the end of this, you'll see a little promo code where you'll get a discount if you choose to buy the brands that I was working with today, is that you can get a discount online. I'll be sure to post that. So at the end of this, just make sure to post or to check out the posts and recipes associated with my my talks, my demos. All right, so now I am going to add directly, and you can walk your guests through this or have your guests watch you do this. I'm going to directly add this in, spreading it throughout. And now the best thing for anybody to do at this point is, you'll see these little drops, those are the medication. That means anything though, anywhere that those drops aren't touching is not medicated. So, consistency. You're really looking for consistency and accuracy here as best that you can. So, I'm actually going to grab a little spoon, and you can have your guests do this, or you can do this for them. So once you're done measuring, you're done dosing. So you want to give this a good swirl for at least, I do mine for at least a minute. This is kind of boring for you to watch, so I'm just going to stir. I would continue stirring that more, but the best part is the caramel gets stuck to it too. So it's almost as if you're getting this little treat. So each guest keeps their spoon, and then they can take their pie dippers to go along with it. So then each guest will get that sauce with the caramel kind of lollipop in my world, and as many dippers as they want. It's fun, it's exciting, and people who don't feel that comfortable necessarily medicating with CBD oil, or they're trepidatious, or they want to wait to try it, that's why I left this sauce unmedicated, and I chose to medicate it here. As you can give your guest additional sauce, and you can give them one that's not, but you can actually still have them infuse something. That way, when you have somebody actually get involved and they touch it, they feel it, they smell it, it's like when you get kids cooking, is that they remember that. It's an ingrained memory that's a good one. And so now whenever they go to think that they might want to try something, there's a good memory associated with it rather than a bunch of unknowns. This is just one quick, easy, fun recipe. I mean, we purchased the pie dough, we purchased the pumpkin puree. It really, truly speaking, you can have all of these things done a day ahead of time. You can even bake the pie dippers ahead of time. That way, when it comes to party time, you can just set it out and have fun, rather than having to set out this, luxurious cocktail bar. You can set out things that they can make their own dessert. They can begin to actually understand CBD oil, what it does, why you use it. This is an opportunity to not just have fun, but to educate and to really bring something new and innovative to what might be a very quiet holiday.
So even in our times right now, as we all struggle wherever we are with whatever we're dealing with, is that this is a fun way for us, at least in small groups, to come and get together and try something new. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the little tips and tricks that I gave throughout all of the recipes that you can find through the website. And I'd like to personally thank Cannabis Magazine and Vox Pro Events for including me in this. I love, love, love teaching people quick, easy, fun recipes, but you can easily incorporate CBD oil into your everyday cooking. Doesn't matter if it's a holiday or not, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I hope you enjoy. And if you have any questions, there's going to be a bunch of extra lectures that you guys can check out as a part of this, this series, and I highly recommend that you do. All right, on that note, I'm going to get to eating. Take care, everybody. Happy holidays.